Welcome to the Idiot's Guide. I'm Mackie Hall, and I gotta show you a really cool way to make logos and art. And it starts with a circle. That was illustrated when I saw this logo, and I thought to myself, we gotta do it. Then I saw this. This is from a local community college, and it kicks up what you can do with a circle one more notch. So with that in mind, we're going to build this too. And in doing so, we are going to learn this. We're going to learn the basic use of shape tools, the advanced use of the rotate tool, how to use the shape builder tool, basic method of adding colors and using the eyedropper tool, and how to use Unite under the Pathfinder tool. Once we're done, you'll be able to create some really cool art, icons, and logos. And by the way, if you're interested, this builds on 2 scale and rotate videos that I've already done. One's beginner and the other is intermediate. Check them out in the description below. All right, we're done with talking. Let's get started. All right, before getting started, I want to mention to you that we're using the Essentials Classic Workspace. If you want to switch to the Essentials Classic Workspace, all we need to do is go to Switch Workspace and select Essentials Classic. Personally, I use the Essentials Classic Workspace because it contains the most information on the page, and that helps me access all the tools and windows that I need to access. Next thing I want to mention is that we're using Smart Guides. To access Smart Guides, all you need to do is go to View, Smart Guides, or select Control U. All right, finally, I want to mention that we're going to be using the bottom of the page to highlight tips and tricks, key command, and hotkey recommendations. Last thing I want to mention is that since we're using a Windows interface, we'll be making our key command recommendations using the control key. If you're using a Mac, substitute command for control. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go. Before we get started, we want to take a little bit of stock of our shape. Note we've got 18 points. That means there are 18 circles. When creating our first shapes, that's going to be really important. Next, notice that I've got color chips containing the colors that I want to use. I find this particularly helpful because then I can use my eyedropper tool instead of entering specific colors or hex keys for my fill colors. Now that we've got that out of the way, the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that our fill and stroke are set to default. That means it's a white fill and a black stroke. Next thing we want to do is we want to select our Ellipse tool. If you don't see your Ellipse tool on your left toolbar, all you need to do is select your rectangle tool and hold it and select your Ellipse tool. You can also press L on your keyboard to bring it up. Once you're done with that, all you need to do is go anywhere on your artboard and click. This will give you a chance to select the width and height of your ellipse. As you can see, you want your ellipse to be 200 points wide and 200 points tall. Click OK. Now that we're done with that, I know I just mentioned a white fill, but we don't want a white fill anymore. So with that in mind, all we need to do is make sure our fill is selected, and let's click on None directly beneath our fill and stroke. Once we're done with that, just for ease of use and proximity, let's go ahead and align our circle horizontally to center and vertically to center as well. If you don't see your align tools, all you need to do is go to Windows, Align. Once we're done with that, let's go ahead and create the shapes that we're going to be using for our final shape. The way we do that is let's go ahead and grab our rotate tool. Once we've selected our rotate tool, if we zoom into our circle, you can see the rotate axis at the exact center of our shape. What we want to do is we want to move that rotate axis all the way to the exact bottom of our circle. The way we do that is we're going to press our Alt key. We're going to hover over our rotate axis and drag it all the way down to our bottom anchor point, just like that. Once done, a default rotate angle will come up. That's likely not what we want. Instead, Illustrator provides an easy way to get our rotate angle right. In this case, we know we want to use 18 circles rotating around a specific axis. So what we want to do is we want to use that math. We want to go 360. We want to write 360 divided by 18. It's the number of circles that we want to use. Instead of selecting OK, what we want to do is press copy. Once done with that, we want to duplicate that action 16 more times to get our 18 circles within the shape. Illustrator does not make it easy to find the duplicate function, but fortunately for us, there is a hotkey or key command for it. That key command is Control D. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Control D 16 times to bring our circles all the way around our specified and desired shape. Let's go. Let's bring our entire page into view. Let's grab our selection tool to deselect our shape. And if you look closely, nestled inside of the shapes that we've created is our final shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to carve out of that initial shape our final piece. Here's how we're going to do it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to select all of our circles, and then we're going to grab a new tool called our Shape Builder tool. Now the Shape Builder tool works by selecting intersecting lines and shapes and creating a single shape from them. In this case, all we need to do is we need to click and hold around a specific number of shapes, and that will combine to one shape. Here's an example, and here's how we're going to get started. I'm going to hover over my shape, just like that, and I'm going to click and hold and drag over the parts of the shape that I want to delete. Now, I'm not going to use the entire shape. Right now, I'm just going to drag across this edge and watch what happens. I'll release. And note that everything I dragged over has been combined into a single shape. What we want to do is we want to do that all the way around our shape. So let's continue. Be sure to select all the shapes that you want to ultimately delete. Once we're done, let's grab our selection tool and let's deselect our shape. Now looking into that, you can see your final shape. Let's go ahead and get rid of that outside path. The way we do that is let's grab our direct selection tool, let's select that path, and let's hit either delete or backspace twice. There you go. Now what we want to do is we want to take all of our intersecting paths and create individual shapes from them. Let's go ahead and first start with our innermost path set, and let's create our innermost shape. So let's go. Let's grab our selection tool. Let's select our entire shape again. Again, let's grab our Shape Builder tool. Let's go inside of our shape to the middle, and let's drag around our innermost shapes, just like that, to create a single shape. Release. Let's go ahead and grab our selection tool and deselect. And now, as you can see, we've got the nuts and bolts for our final shape. Now that we've got that, let's create our individual shapes and start coloring them. Once again, with our selection tool selected, let's select our entire shape just like that. Let's grab our Shape Builder tool and let's drag across our outermost shapes. Be careful not to select anything inside. Once we're done, let's go ahead and grab our selection tool. Let's deselect our shape. And now with our selection tool selected, we want to grab all of our outside shapes to color them. The way we do that is we hold our Shift key and we drag across and select all the shapes that we want. Once we're done, let's go ahead and color our shape. Again, we can do this two ways. We'll first do this by entering the hex color in our fill color. The way we do that is we go to our fill color, we double click on our fill, and we enter in our darkest green. Again, that's 00A330. Click OK. Next thing we want to do is let's make our stroke transparent. All we need to do is select our stroke and let's select none directly beneath it. Once we're done with that, Let's go ahead and lock our shapes down, and then let's work our way further inside. The way we lock our shapes down is we go to Object, Lock, Selection, or Control 2. Notice straight away that our shapes are now deselected. If I want to select them, note that I cannot do so. Let's work our way one more set of shapes to the inside. The way we do that is once again with our selection tool selected, we drag across our shape just like that. And let's grab our shape builder tool and let's drag around our outermost shapes. Let's release. And let's go ahead and grab our selection tool. Again, we'll deselect our shape. And again, we'll hold our shift key down and either drag across the shapes that we want just like that, or click on each of the individual shapes that we want, once again with our shift key held down. Once our selected shapes have been selected, let's go ahead and enter in our color. Again, we can select the fill and enter our hex color, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to grab our eyedropper tool and click on the color chip that we're going to be using. Again, this is our middle green, or 3BBD00. Now that we're done with that, let's lock those shapes down. Again, going Object, Lock, Selection, or Control 2. Let's work our way one more set inside. We'll grab our selection tool. We'll drag across our shape one more time. Let's grab our shape builder tool and drag around our outermost shapes just like that. Once done, all we need to do is either enter our color, or what we're going to do is we're going to grab our eyedropper tool and click on our yellow with all our shapes selected. There you go. Let's grab our selection tool. We can deselect our shapes to see what our piece is going to look like. And notice straight away that our innermost shape is not visible. Let's go ahead and make that visible. We can hover over our shape. We can click on it. And let's go ahead and change that fill to white. Let's make sure that our stroke is transparent, just like that. Let's go ahead and deselect our shape. And that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and do two more things and we'll be done with our piece. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to unlock all of our locked objects by going to Object, Unlock All. Let's deselect our shape, and then let's go ahead and group our shape. Again, with our selection tool selected, let's drag across our shape just like that. Let's group all of our individual shapes together. We do that by selecting Object, Group, or Control G. Let's bring this piece to center just to make it easy. We do that by aligning our shape both horizontally and vertically. Let's deselect our shape, and we're done with our logo. Let's move on to one more. Now that we've completed that logo, let's go to something a little bit easier and a little bit more complex at the same time. Let's first take stock of our new shape. This shape, once again, is modeled after a local community college logo. And you'll notice if you take a look at the shape, there are 8 points. That means there are 8 circles within this shape. That's going to give us an easy starting point. So before we get started, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we've got our default fill and stroke colors selected. What we're going to do is we're just going to click on default fill and stroke just like that. And then let's go ahead and select our Ellipse tool. Select our Ellipse tool and then click anywhere on our artboard just like that. Once again, we want to create an ellipse that's 200 points wide by 200 points tall. Next thing we want to do, just for ease of use, is let's go ahead and align it horizontally to center and vertically to center as well. Now, once we've got our circle set to center, let's go ahead and make our fill transparent. The way we do that, once again, is let's select our fill and let's click on None. Once we're done with that, and also knowing that we want 8 circles around our shape, let's go ahead and select our Rotate tool. Once we've got that, let's go ahead and zoom in on our shape just a little bit. It's good right there. Let's again change our rotate axis. The way we do that is we're going to press our Alt key, go to our rotate axis, click and drag down, but instead of going all the way to the bottom anchor point like we did in our previous logo, what we're going to do instead is go to about 4/5 of the way down, about there. Once we've done that, let's release. And again, since we want 7 copies of this circle around our shape, let's avoid the math and write 360 divided by 8 because that's the total number of circles that we want. Now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and press copy. And you can see our new shape being added. Just like in the last one, we want to duplicate that action 6 more times. So let's press Control D 6 times. There you go. Let's deselect our shape by grabbing our selection tool. Clicking off of our shape, let's bring the entire shape back down to 0. If you look closely, you can see the logo shape inside of our group of shapes. The one difference between this logo and the other logo is that there's spacing between each of the individual shapes. Let's get started on creating that specific spacing. What we're going to do is we're going to select our shapes, just like that. And let's go ahead and increase our strokes to about 9 points. If you don't see your stroke window, all you need to do is go to Window, Stroke, or Control F10. Now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and take our strokes and expand them to a final shape. The way we're going to do that is we're going to go to Object, Expand. Our Expand window will come up, and let's just select OK. When we click OK, watch what happens to our stroke. Note right away that our strokes become filled shapes. Note, however, that our filled shapes are still individual shapes. What we want to do is we want to take all of those filled strokes and combine them into one single shape. It's going to help us down the road, I promise. The way we're going to combine those shapes is we're going to go to Window, Pathfinder, and once our Pathfinder tool opens, under Shape Modes, we want to select Unite. Let's go ahead and click on it and watch what happens to our shapes. Note straight away that all those filled strokes have become one combined shape. Let's go ahead and deselect our shape. Now that we've got that, let's go ahead and take our shapes and add fills to where there are now voids. The way we do that is let's grab our direct selection tool and let's click on our outermost path right there. And let's hit either backspace or delete twice. And look what happens. Now you can really start seeing our shape within our initial shapes. Let's keep going with this. Next thing we want to do is we want to take all of those shapes that we've got in there and let's make them individual shapes. That's going to allow us to delete what we don't want and then color what we want. Once again, we'll grab our selection tool. Let's drag across our entire shape just like that. Now let's grab our shape builder tool. What we're going to do is we're going to drag across our entire shape. This is going to create individual shapes from all those shapes that are now together. Be careful to select all of your shapes. If you can't see all of the shapes, feel free to zoom in so that you can hover over all of them. Once you're done, let's go ahead and release, and let's deselect our shape by selecting our selection tool and clicking anywhere on the artboard. Once we're done with that, notice that you can click on any of the individual shapes and they are selected individually. Once we've got that set, let's go ahead and delete the shapes that we don't need. The way we're going to do that is we're going to hold our Shift key and click on all of our outermost parts of our circle, just like that. Once we've got them selected, let's just hit backspace or delete, and we are pretty close to the shape that we want. Let's continue by getting rid of our middle shape as well. Hit backspace or delete there, and note that we've got a pretty final shape right there. All we need to do is color it. So let's go ahead and color our piece. Let's hold our Shift key and select our outermost shapes. Once they're selected, we can enter in our fill color just like we did in our previous step, And that fill color will be A8D4ED. Or what we're going to do is we're going to grab the eyedropper tool and let's select the color chip from our lightest blue. We'll click on that. Let's grab our selection tool and let's deselect. And we're on our way. Let's work our way just a little bit further in. Again, with our selection tool still selected, let's select our next outermost set of colors. Again, holding the Shift key. This time around, let's change tact and let's just change the fill color. Let's double click on our fill color. Let's enter in our new fill color. That will be 63B2E7. Click OK. Let's go ahead and deselect. It's looking a little bit better. Let's move in to our next outermost shapes. Again, holding our Shift key, we'll select them all. Now that we're done, let's select our next darkest blue. Again, that's 0076BF. I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool and click on the color chip. Let's grab our selection tool and deselect. And let's move in once again. Select our next outermost set of shapes. Again, holding our Shift key. Once done, let's grab our eyedropper tool and click on our orange color chip. That would be FF4612. Grab our selection tool, deselect, and let's move in one last time. Let's zoom in. It's going to help us select those small pieces. With our selection tool selected, let's click on all of those small pieces. Once done, let's bring the entire page into view by hitting Control-0. Let's grab our eyedropper tool and let's select our darkest blue color chip. That hex color is 385888. Let's go ahead and click on it. Grab our selection tool. Let's deselect. And that looks pretty good. Let's take 2 more steps and we will be done. With our selection tool still selected, let's drag across our entire shape just like that. Let's group our shapes together by selecting Object, Group. Let's align our new final shape horizontally and vertically. Let's go ahead and deselect our shape. That looks good. We are done. All right, now that we're done, see what you can do with these tools. As a matter of fact, don't just limit yourself to circles. Try squares, stars, and polygons as well. All right, with that in mind, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, throw me a like. I'd really appreciate that. And lastly, subscribe. I'd appreciate that just a little bit more. We'll see you next time. Peace.